Twilight's Last Gleaming was released in 1977. This is directed by Robert Aldrich. It's written by Ronald Cohen and Edward Hubsch, and I apologise if I've mispronounced that. And it's based on the novel Viper 3 by Walter Wager. And we have a cast including Burt Lancaster and John Ratzenberger. John Ratzenberger plays a sergeant. And it's because of Ratzenberger that I became aware of this. I read the description, and I'll read the description from IMDb in a second. And I thought, this doesn't sound like my kind of thing. And I can now confirm that it was a really tedious experience. So what I will say is that I will share some thoughts. I have some positive things to say about the film. But really, if this interests you, just check it out. Because it's not my kind of film. The narrative doesn't work for me because of personal preference. It is very long, though. It is about 2.5 hours, and honestly, I feel like it had no business being that long. Maybe if the narrative appealed to me, I would have not had quite a bigger problem with the length. But that being said, I still feel like there were certain aspects that could have been quickened up a little bit. So I will expand on my thoughts, but I will just say, if you're even remotely interested in it, just check it out and come to your own conclusion, because with this particular film, it's not for me, so my thoughts don't really mean a lot. But as I said, I do have some positives. It's not all bad. But I will read the description from IMDb. And this says, an imprisoned rogue USAF general with a secret personal agenda escapes the brig and takes over an ICBM silo, threatening to start World War III. I read all of that, and I thought that sounds intense. And because I don't have the strongest military knowledge, there were aspects of this that were, I don't want to say difficult to understand, but took an awful lot of concentration. Also for me to work out who was ranking whom and kind of getting to grips with different positions of authority and things. So again, that's not the film's fault. Absolutely not the film's fault. But my, honestly, lack of knowledge with this kind of thing meant that it was not just about following the story, but also trying to keep up with what was happening in terms of people's ranking and what was considered problematic. And I obviously have no idea how accurate this is, or would it play out like this? I don't know. There are threats to obviously cause a lot of chaos. I don't know if it could play out like this, or if it's maybe not completely realistic. A lot does happen. I know I said the length is very long, very, very long. But a lot does happen. There are still things that I think could have been quickened up, or scenes that don't necessarily add a lot. But it still is a very busy film. We do have a lot going on, a lot of characters. The performances are very strong. The characters seem very well written. I don't know if they're accurate representations of people in these positions of power or these positions of authority, but certainly they were interesting enough characters. But I didn't connect with any of them. I did like seeing John Ratzenberger, though. That was definitely quite nice. Not enough to make me ultimately like the film, but I did enjoy Ratzenberger's performance. Everybody gave a great performance. I think the characters felt very realistic in terms of their personalities, their emotions, the way they responded to things. The costumes look good. I don't know if they're accurate, but they look good. The camera work is very good. The special effects are very good. The use of sound effects, music, very suspenseful, very dramatic. I also like the fact that it's not as loud as I expected. With this kind of film, there's often, because I have seen some similar films, there's often a lot of shouting and noise, and when it happens for the entire film, I really, really don't like it. I'm quite sensitive to noise, as a lot of people are, but with this one, we have some very loud, action-packed scenes where it is very chaotic and everybody's running around and it's very intense, but then we have some calmer scenes that are a little bit quieter. Those scenes give me the chance to keep up with things and to kind of mentally keep up with the narrative. So it was an effort. It wasn't an easy watch. Honestly, even having seen it, I probably still didn't understand a lot of what was going on, but not the film's fault. Absolutely not the film's fault. So the point there is that if you're coming from a perspective similar to mine, it's not going to be the easiest watch. And I guess the only real issue is that the length is definitely still longer than it needed to be. I could have accepted 1 hour and 50, maybe 2 hours, but this was a little bit more extreme than that. But if you're really passionate about the concept, the film, the narrative, then maybe the length won't be so bad. But I guess the only real point of criticism is that some of the pacing isn't great. But other than that, I can't really fault it, but I definitely didn't like it. It's not a film for me. Maybe one day I'll revisit it. I highly doubt it, though Ratzenberger being in it, maybe I'll have a reason to watch it. But for now, I can confirm that Twilight/Gleaming was not an enjoyable experience, but I can't say it's a bad film. Pacing's a little bit slow in some places. Not tremendously, though. As I said, I could still accept this as being maybe a 2-hour film, as there is a lot of substance. It's not just a bunch of fluff with a couple of good scenes. For the most part, it is quite a strong narrative, well-written characters, really good performances. The technical aspects are brilliant. But at the end of the day, Twilight/Gleaming definitely isn't a film for me.